Mother Kevin wrote to the bishop for permission to put up the much-needed institution. The bishop wrote back encouraging her to start one, for she saw that evangelization would be truly successful if medical and educational services, especially among women, went hand in hand. Although permission was given, Mother Kevin was still in a tight corner. It was her wish to train Catholic nuns and women in midwifery to assist the women in labor, but the church law at the time forbade religious nuns to practice this branch of medicine. What could she do? She took up courage and went to Rome to request the Holy See to change the unfair law, at least for mission countries. Her petition was not granted. She left Rome and went to Ireland. While she was there, she visited the Poor Clares Monastery at San Damiano to request for prayers. She went to the chapel begging St. Teresa of the Child Jesus, her confidant and friend, for a miracle. While she was there, a young girl, Dr. Connolly, came in to visit her relative at the monastery, and the sisters told Mother Kevin about her. In a short time, to her surprise, the abbess sent for Mother Kevin to meet this young doctor. They talked at length, and Dr. Evelyn Connolly was willing to come out to Nsambia and work on the missions without pay for 3 years. In a truly victorious mood, Mother Kevin returned to Nsambia and told the bishop about the success of her mission. And so, in April, Dr. Evelyn Connolly arrived from Dublin to take up residence in Nsambia for 3 years, giving free service to the people. Her coming promised a hopeful future for the institution, for she had excellent qualifications in all branches, especially in maternity work. The hospital grew strength to strength under her able supervision. She worked tirelessly, and when the 3 years were over, she entered religious life and became Sister Mary Assumpta of St. Francis. A few years after her arrival, Dr. Connolly A few years after the arrival of Dr. Connolly in Uganda, the Pope granted permission and even advocated for the teaching of midwifery to Catholic sisters and girls. As soon as the bishop told Mother Kevin the news, she quickly turned the stores into a classroom. Dr. Connolly mounted the skeleton of a rabbit and sold St. Francis School of Nursing and Midwifery came into existence, the only of its kind in East Africa and DRC at the time. Mother Kevin strongly believed in the old saying, "Educate a woman and you have educated a nation." And so she opened up girls' schools and adult literacy centers for women throughout the Upper Nile Vicariate and beyond.
Their traditional games and dances. From the rocky hill where the children have been dancing, the whole mission is seen stretched out below with its church, hospital buildings, school classrooms and dormitories, priest's house and convent, and catechumen's sleeping quarters and kitchens. Sister Elizabeth herself is to teach in the girls' secondary school, which is one of the two so far established by the sisters. But first, she is shown something of what goes on in the primary classrooms, where the teaching is in the local vernacular, Teso. At this level, at any rate, going to school is evidently fun, and Sister Elizabeth forms a high opinion of the African teaching sister, whose small charges are at once so well behaved and so obviously interested in what they are doing. In neighboring rooms, other primary classes can be heard at work. The day comes for Sister Elizabeth to take charge of her class in this secondary school. But where is the class? Surely not all playing truant. A colleague explains there has been no rain recently and all the girls have to start the day by carrying up water from the well half a mile away for washing and cooking. When they do come, it is with a rush, for there is nothing reluctant about the attitude of the African child towards its schoolwork. So, Sister Elizabeth sets out to get to terms with her new charges, and there is a strange fascination about the process, for although the various subjects on the timetable are familiar enough, their interpretation in terms which will appeal to these young Africans provides a perpetual challenge to the teacher's skill and imagination. It is as well to remember, for example, when trying to guide these girls through some tangle of algebraic expressions, that in their own language, Teso, it is possible to count up to 5 and no further. Or again, when dealing with such things as the development of European culture, she must bear in mind that not one of her listeners has probably ever entered a theatre, or heard an orchestra, or seen any building larger or finer than the mission church. It has been well said that if one is asked, what is the purpose of education, one cannot reply without first answering the still broader question, what is the purpose of life? For those who believe that religion is the key to an understanding of life, religion must needs be at the heart of any system of education, and so it is at the sister schools. Indeed, there is a special need for religion in schools in Africa, where the old structure of tribal sanctions and obligations is everywhere crumbling before the impact of Western ideas. And Sister Elizabeth's lessons in the principles and practice of the Catholic faith are as attentively received as they are lovingly given. She soon finds herself getting interested in her girls as individuals, and adds a great deal to her knowledge of the environment from which they come by 1 week setting as an essay subject, Our Home.
There are 4 houses in our home. One is mine, one is Stephen, one is for my brother, and one is for my father and mother. We are built in a room, and there are 7 food stores around the home. The compound is all
Francesca's home is typical. There are separate huts for the various members of the family group, the largest being that of the parents, who as they grow older will expect their children to relieve them of most of the work. Unmarried sons will be out with the cattle. Smaller children busy with their games somewhere in the compound. A young girl would be lucky to have as good a hut as this for her own. Even so, her bed will be a mat or hide on the mud floor with very little in the way of furniture. Among the Bantu peoples of Africa, most of the work is traditionally done by the women. Much of the cultivation of crops, sweeping and tidying the compound and huts, carrying water from the nearest spring or pool, collecting and bringing in firewood, storing away and preparing food for the family, and making the elaborate preparations needed for brewing beer for her parents. Holidays are busy times in homes like these, and girls naturally find it hard to keep up with their school interests. Each time they return to their very different life at school, it must need a major adjustment. Yet they seem quite able to take these changes in their stride, with no alteration in their natural affection for their homes and parents. But there will surely be many changes in African homes as time goes on and more girls become wives and mothers of families who during their school days pass through this kind of environment. Mama Kevina, Mother Kevin.
I hope to pray for a thing. The kids are alone. The thing, the next been happening in 50 years. Once this prepares to you, this working away from Africa is far more than we, and ourselves, could ever have done. It has been the closest support of all those who have food and food and work to come to help us. There's no possible. God bless you. As for the future, I can assure you that this exchange is nothing in comparison with how food has to be done by being Africans. Well then, what can you do? I offer the wrong thing, call the Lord permission, even one who knows. Some can be wrong, helped financially, encourage recruiting, perhaps even give your own personal service, but here's the root of the same. Now, in the world of our Holy Father concerns, I wish each one, her person, God's blessing and His Holy Spirit.